All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. I'm Tom, and we are here with George. Hello, George.
Hey, guys. How is everybody doing today?
Yes. How is everybody today? Hopefully, you guys had a good day. Bitcoin had a good day. We got a bunch of stuff to go through, maybe a breakout, some technical stuff that looks like a breakout. The Bitcoin miners were mixed bag today, but we're going to go through what they did this week, which was a lot. And we got some news. We got some big moves from some Bitcoin miners. So, and we'll talk market and a couple other miscellaneous things. So welcome, everybody. If you would be so kind as to please smash the like button. It helps the stream out a lot. We got 15 likes. We're going for 100, then 200. So do us a favor. It helps people get to the stream. So it is much appreciated. I see some comments. Hello to some of our members. Selmermelon Gaming, Cleanspark to 50. Chuck. And hello to everybody else who is here. Take a sip of water and then let's get to it. Okay. All right. Right off the bat, we got a question or comment from Midway. Midway, thank you very much. Midway, thanks for being a member. Thanks for the super chat. BitDeer stock had a good day today. They're about to start growing their exahash a lot from their self-made mining machines and might wind up being one of the best performers during all of 2025. So we got a press release to go through. Thank you, Midway, for bringing that up. I do have their press release they put out. This press release and then one they put out a while ago to talk about some more stuff that they're doing. So yes, BitDeer has some stuff going on. And they were up 5.5% today. At a glance, that looks like the best of the top 12 of the Bitcoin miners that we follow. Some of the micro caps that we stopped following, they are still on the list over here, if you can see on your screen. Some of those had good up days today. You can get, bigger movements from those tiny, they're not even micro caps, they're nano caps now. But of the big ones, BitDeer had the best day, and it did have some news. It had some good news. They're basically on track with what they told us that they were going to do, which was one of the main things that I think we like as investors to see from, our Bitcoin miners or any company that we're investing in, is that if they set a goal, if they tell us they're going to do something, they do it, or they keep very close tabs on, if they're going to miss it, give us a heads up, why they're going to miss it, what the new deadline is. So I think they're doing those things. A lot of these Bitcoin miners have some exciting news. I just was remembering back to a few months before the halving. There were 3 or 4 very big people in the space. One of which specifically I remember was Fred from Marathon. But there were some other big names saying, look, in this cycle, you're going to see all these Bitcoin miners going to go away. We're going to consolidate down to between 3 and 5 Bitcoin miners. Well, I don't think that is correct. We're following 12. I don't know that all 12 are going to thrive, but I think there's going to be 6 or 7 or 8 that have a really, really good chance of doing very well. That is my personal opinion. You can let me know what you guys think. What do you think, George? Your mic's doing its thing, whatever you did before.
See,
there we go.
I think you can't hear me. That's what I think.
Now I heard every word of that. You're back.
Oh, did you? That's so weird. Because I was saying that today's the 27th, and you know what that means.
Today is the 27th.
It's gold time for Bitcoin.
This was your day. This was your day,
right? This was my day. I thought I missed it, but I don't think I did.
George has been saying for the last couple weeks that he thought this was going to be the day. So, and I'm going to show you some charts where it looks like maybe this was the day we had potentially a confirmed breakout above a line that, one of the big people in this space was talking about. So we'll look at that. And we clearly, we'll go to, I'll just pop to the 1-day chart real quick and just look at it. So So I got the one-day chart in a couple of different ways. This one you guys know about is we've been trading inside of this channel now for 6 full months. So the way I have this drawn, we are still not out of the top of this channel. However, we have been looking at something very specific. We hit, this was our previous high. So, we hit a lower low here, and then, this was the new high. And, so we were looking to see if we could take this out. And I'll tell you, it looked like it was really battling. There was 1, 2, 3 days where we candlewicked above this. The third day we candlewicked above this, we finished in the red. It looked like it was going the other way. But now, yesterday, we closed above this. And today we're going to open and close above this area of consolidation here that represented the previous high on a short term. This is the 1-day time frame. So I think this looks really good. This is a really bullish breakout. I'll go straight to an article that kind of supports this, and I was looking at around this somewhere around 64,400, but we had a company that, so Bitfinex says Bitcoin needs to top 65.2K to break the downtrend. Well, today it looks like, and the daily candle is not closed, so, we will reserve judgment until we get to the close of the daily candle, but it looks like we're going to close above 65,200 today. Later, I'll go to a follow-up to this article that talks about they now feel the breakout is on and the next move is up. And I have a series of articles that came out over the last, 3 days, really the last 2 days, that all of a sudden everybody's super bullish. So I do get a little bit concerned when everybody's bullish, but I think there's reason to be. This was the last, well, no, actually Monday is still September. So obviously Bitcoin trades over the weekend, everything, the equities, so the Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin will trade on Monday as well. And we'll see where we're sitting. But if I switch over, and I don't want to, I don't want to speak too soon again because the month's not over. But if I go to the 1 month, this is September. This was the month that everybody was dreading that was going to be a treacherous nightmare. And, they fooled us. If you remember, and we talked about this on this channel right as it was happening, we ran right down to this line of support. So, I think 5 or 6 days in, we were down 10 or 11% on Bitcoin. And it has reversed. We are now up 11%. Now, again, we got Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we got 3 more trading days to see what happens with Bitcoin. But it looks like September breaks the trend. It looks like it's going to be a good month. It was a really good month for Bitcoin. It was a good month for the equities as well. So, that's why I always worry. We always talk about never look at one thing. And, when everybody's saying one thing, watch out for the opposite may be happening. So it looks like maybe that's how September is going to end up having played out. So let's see. Let's get a poll going. And what are you thinking about, George?
A lot of people don't have power in Atlanta. There's over 750,000 people without power, and I forget this.
Oh yeah, that storm moved from where I am to where George is. George is in Atlanta. I'm in Southwest Florida. And, we got it. A lot of people down here, particularly in Cape Coral and, people on the canal all throughout Southwest Florida. There was, I think, a 6-foot storm surge down here. Up further up the coast, it might have even been worse. So, hope everybody stayed safe and didn't get too wet. And now, yeah, these hurricanes don't usually do this, but it turned around and moved to Atlanta. So,
yeah. But Category 2 hit Atlanta.
I can't imagine when is the last time that happened.
Well, they said that there was more rain in the 72 hours in the history of 100 years or something like that.
Wow.
That blew my mind. Isn't that crazy? So
Typing up a poll.
So that means that now I have like, I don't know, 10 generators, and I just found out I got to go set them tonight.
Oh yeah, you're George is, in the water business.
Yeah, a lot of trees on houses too. I can't believe how many trees on houses.
So, unfortunately for everybody, when that bad things happen, George gets very busy in his business. All right, let's get this poll up. Is this the Bitcoin breakout to new all-time highs? So while we still haven't broken out of this range, we've broken above our previous high here, and we got a lot of optimism out there. So before I get to the rest of the articles that are talking about it and talking about, big numbers, let's see what you guys think. Right? Because again, this was one of those moments to be cautious because, if all of a sudden everybody's starting to say this same thing again. So what do you think, George? Are we on our way to new all-time high? You're breaking up. I don't know if you need to just move a little. That broke up a little bit.
I think I need to throw this laptop out the window. That's what I think I need to do.
Yeah, because now you're crystal clear. Every once in a while, it breaks up and goes away. I'll just let you know if that's happening.
I think that this is go time now for Bitcoin. But here's the thing: it could come back. I think the next 2 months are going to be really fun. That's what I'm going to say.
So, would it be fair to summarize? You think new all-time high, but lots of volatility. We may turn around and we got some highs, get some lows.
I think yes.
So in other words, business as usual. Because
what gets me is I don't have all my money in right now, Tom. I'm not gonna lie. I got probably half of it in because I'll be honest, I didn't know if it was gonna go up or down. So I figured half is better than nothing.
Well, I think you're not alone. I think I said on the last 2 live streams, and I feel a little bit differently today, but the last 2 live streams, I think we were at an inflection point where it was just a coin toss. It was anybody's guess what was next. And now we seem to have a little bit of a trend going, but I would again caution and say, we did some nice consolidation here. And, usually when this happens, it breaks to the downside. That's not, obviously not always the case, but we're now kind of have a little bit of a breakout going here 2 days in a row to the upside. And that is one of many reasons. It's not just this little breakout here. It's not just this technical stuff that's making people optimistic. There's other stuff going on that people are getting optimistic about. But, sometimes those things are always going on. It's just a matter of what are people talking about? What's the talking points? And, when people get excited about the good things that were, those same good things were true a week ago, but now we're talking about them again. So let's see. All right. If everybody, I'm just going to give one more ask. My like button is broken, but if you guys could hit the like button, it would help the channel out a lot. It would help the stream out a lot. Let's get the word out. Let's get some people talking. We're potentially here in a breakout, so let's get some people over here and talk about it. So it would be much appreciated if you guys would do that.
I'm gonna go onto my phone.
Oh, you're going to go on and hit the like button? All right.
I did. I just hit it. I hit the like button, Tom.
Thank you. All right. So we got some companies that put some news out this week, but I want to just go through. If we take a look at today, there was a difference between today and this week, and this oftentimes happens. Like today was a good day for Bitcoin. It was a nice day for Bitcoin, but it was a mixed bag for the Bitcoin miners. You had Marathon was down 1.3%. Iron was down. Core Scientific was down. TerraWolf was down. By the way, those 3 are the top 3 year to date. And this very often is what tends to happen. the things that are way out ahead tend to kind of pull back on certain days where other things do well, and vice versa. So we do get these counter moves on any given day. But when I go to the 1 week schedule, which we'll do, I updated everything through the end of the day today. Bitcoin miners had a very good week. So last week was 2 weeks ago, the Bitcoin miners had a spectacular week. Last week was a mixed bag. This week was another very good week. So it seems like we're building some momentum with the Bitcoin miners as well, which also goes to what I've been saying for probably the last 3 months. I don't think the Bitcoin miners really start to make that big move until we get out of this range. So, you know, we have had, if we go back to September 17th, so that's 10 days ago, you know, we're up Bitcoin's up 13% in the last 10 days. So that is a nice run, and the Bitcoin miners have done very well in that run, but they're still, you know, most of the Bitcoin miners are still in the red year to date. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I think those types of moves are still maybe ahead of us, and they're waiting for, you know, we got maybe until Bitcoin gets up here, or maybe up here to its previous all-time high, and then points beyond, I think, is when we really start to see some moves for the Bitcoin miners. But they've had a lot of nice consolidation, in my opinion. I'm feeling pretty good, and that doesn't mean they won't pull back. You know, if Bitcoin pulls back and retests these lows, I am sure that, you know, it's highly likely the Bitcoin miners will pull back as well. So we'll see what happens. I don't think a lot of people are thinking about retesting these lows at the moment, but let's see what happens. That's always on the table until we break out of a range. And with Bitcoin, like we always say, we talk about this to no end. The volatility is real. I mean, you can see it on this chart. I mean, these moves, you know, this was a 17% move to the downside, just inside of this going sideways, and then a 26% move to the upside, and then a 25% move to the downside, and then a 32% move to the upside, and then a 30% move to the downside. You know, so it's all over the place here. And now we're in the middle of, now we're up 34% from the absolute bottom, which was that, you know, I'm calling it a flash crash on August 5th. We got down to around $49,000. You know, we jumped up back into this trading range, even just within that same one daily candle. So, you know, I think this was a bit of an outlier. These flash crashes, you can see we have some big candle wicks to the downside that break out of the bottom of this range. But from a daily candle close, we keep maintaining the bottom of this range. Now, the question is, can we break out of the top of this range? Which we're going to, and I will tell you, I've seen other people with lines that are different than mine. I've seen a lot of lines, you know, more like this, where we're like basically right at the breakout. So, you know, technical analysis is subjective. So any of these types of things I've seen all over the place. I have my line up here. I think this is the one that has the most touch points and that makes the most sense. But so to me, we're not quite there yet, but there's no doubt, you know, we have had one of the breakouts we were looking for, which was above, you know, this consolidation rate here at just above 64,000. So we're at almost, right now we're at just under 66,000. We did get as high as, let's see, 66,587 today. So we got to almost 66,000 on the day today. Let's see. Let's get to some of the news. I think George might have had a business call. Like I said, George is in the water mitigation business, so he helps people when they have floods and whatnot. And being that a hurricane just hit there, he's probably got a lot going on right now. Okay, let's talk about BitDeer. This is something that earlier one of our members, Midway One, brought up. And we don't talk about BitDeer. They don't get as much attention, but they do have a lot going on. And one of the things they have going on, they just announced BitDeer completes testing of its latest CLO2 Bitcoin mining chip. So Initial prototype tests indicate an exceptional power efficiency ratio of 13.5 joules per terahash. And I'm going to go to a press release they put out several months ago. They have already planned the Seal 2, the Seal 3, and the Seal 4. I'm a little bit skeptical. This is just my opinion about the Seal 4. But the Seal 2 looks like it's now ready to go. So I imagine they're going to be using their own miners going forward as they build out their own infrastructure. I don't know how much of these they're going to sell to other people. This is, 13.5 is right there in line with the latest and greatest of what the other big manufacturers are doing. So it's not out of line. And they have plans to get significantly better than this. And one of the things that I do think is weird is to announce, and let me go to the other. So they had an outsized day today. They were up over 5% on this news. So people did like this news. And so you'll see with mass production scheduled to commence in November. So that's just, that's not far away. It's September 27th. So 5 weeks from now, we're going to be in November. So we'll see if they can get that up and running. But I'm going to go back. This came out on June 7th. So over the summer, you'll see they released this whole Seal miner scenario. The Seal 1, which is done and gone, that was at 18.1. They were expecting the Seal 2 expected in Q3 of 2024 at 14 joules per terahash. So you can see it's not quite the end of Q3. And they just announced the Seal 2 is what exactly did they say? Prototype testing is done, and it's at 13.5 joules per terahash. So this is what I'm saying. I feel like they're doing what they talked about here. This is what they said they were going to do back in June. It looks like they're basically on track for this. And then they have the Seal 4 expected to come out in the fourth quarter, down to 10 joules per terahash. So that one, okay. I'm even in a little bit of I'll believe it when I see it on this one. But the one that I remain with a big question mark on, and again, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Then they're talking about a Seal 4, which is at 5 joules per terahash. I mean, that would just blow everything else out of the water. So that's one that, is on the drawing board. I don't know when or if we get to machines that are running at this level of efficiency. That feels like it's a little out of reach right now. But with that said, they did do the Seal 2, which is at 13.5 joules per terahash. So that they got a big, if we go back to the chart, you'll see they got the biggest bump today, up 5.5% on a day where half of the Bitcoin miners of the 12 that we now follow on this channel. So for those of you new here, we're following the 12 largest Bitcoin miners. We were doing 19. Everybody voted that there were 7 that were kind of microcap, nanocap stocks. We knocked them, although they're still here on the side. You can see them down at the bottom here. And some of them had nice days. We're not tracking those in the same way. But just to note a few, Argo Blockchain was up almost 15%. Mawson was up 12%. So even some of these that, I'm not sure what the future holds for those very, very small companies, they did have a nice day today. All right. Let's see who's next. Let's talk about, let me find it. Okay, so this did come out at the beginning of the week, but Iron had a big update, and they announced that they've achieved 20 exahash, and they're on track for 31 exahash by the end of the year. So the bigger thing that jumped out at me on this press release is they talked about based on 31 exahash at 15 joules per terahash efficiency. So this is, I'll go backwards a little. Iron has increased its installed capacity to 20 exahash, and they're at 16 joules per terahash. So that's even down from the 18 point something that they were at in their August update. So it's, from August to September, they pretty dramatically increased their efficiency. This is the most efficient fleet that is out there right now. A lot of companies are working on their efficiency. You know, most of Iron's machines are the brand new, latest and greatest. They're not alone. A lot of the companies are doing dramatic improvements to their efficiency. But what I was going to say is, based on 31 exahash at 15 joules per terahash, so 31 is what they're tracking for at the end of the year. They're reiterating. They were saying 30. Now they're saying 31. So just to put that in perspective, of the big companies, Marathon's targeting 50 by the end of 2024. So they're a little bit in a league of their own. But then you get to the group. CleanSpark is targeting 37. Riot is targeting 32, and Iron's targeting 31. So those four companies are going to have, if everybody does exactly what they say they're going to do, those four companies are going to have significantly more exahash than everybody else. And there are other companies with big growth plans. So, you know, I'm not leaving everybody else off the list. There's you know, Bitfarms and Cipher and TeraWolf have also announced big plans between 2024 and 2025. So, you know, there's a lot of growth ahead. And at the same time, we're going to take a look at the network itself. Actually has stalled out a little bit. The last network, I'll go look at that right now. Find that. So we just had on the 25th, 2 days ago, the difficulty level adjustment, and it was negative 4.6. So this was down. And if we take a look, if I go back to 424, right, which was 4 days after the halving. So if we go from basically the halving, this was at 88.1 trillion, and we're now at 88.4 trillion. So we're almost exactly where we were right after the halving. So actually at the halving, that was the peak. So, and then we dipped a little. We actually got a bunch higher. You can see we got all the way up to 92.6. And, you know, now we're back down to kind of right. So that's 5 full months of what effectively with the up and down dips. And you can see we had in the middle, we had a giant move to the upside. And now, you know, with this, we've moved right back to where we started. And so this is a big relief for the Bitcoin miners. You know, the publicly traded Bitcoin miners that are dramatically outpaced. Right now, a lot of these Bitcoin miners are growing. We just looked, you know, I think Iron came into the year at 5 exahash. They doubled to 10. They've doubled again to 20. CleanSpark, you know, came in, I think, at, and I may not be remembering these numbers, so double check them correctly, but I think they've gone from, you know, they've more than doubled in exahash this year as well. Bitfarms has doubled in exahash. So as the publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies continue to grow, they're outpacing the network. And I think that is crucial, particularly post-halving. I think that's been a big goal of these top miners. You know, one of several things, you know, mine efficiently, get that cost per coin down, but to outpace the growth of the overall network. And it's a big break that we're now basically in a 5-month window. We've gone sideways. And over the 2 years before that, the network was growing at, you know, 70, 80, 90% a year, almost doubling on an annual basis. So, you know, to take almost a half a year off and go sideways has helped these companies a lot. And the network will grow, I expect. So I think you're going to see the big Bitcoin miners do have a lot of growth plans. So this will keep going up. According to this, they're saying, you know, 632 on the average for that 2 weeks, 632 exahash. So, you know, we could go up to 700, 800 exahash, but it doesn't look like, you know, in the 12 months after the halving, it doesn't look like we're going to do one of these 80 to 100% deals again, which would have been really tough for the Bitcoin miners. So this is what they needed. This is what they're getting at the moment. And I think this is an important thing to keep our eye on. So, you know, that we're about to get, it's almost the end of September. We're about to get all these September updates over the next couple of weeks. And I won't be surprised if, you know, given the fact that there were 2 increases in a row, August 28th, so just before September started, and then on September 10th, there was another increase. So September might have been a little bit tougher month. Now, just before October starts, you know, we get a little bit of a pullback. So let's see if that helps the Bitcoin miners in October. There should still be some Bitcoin miners that mine more Bitcoin in September, despite these increases in the network, because they increased their exahash so substantially in the month. So I'm going to give me 30 seconds, and I'm just going to see how George is doing. I know he's got his business that's going on right now, but send him a quick text. So pardon the 30-second interruption. Okay, pardon me. All right. So let's go back to Iron's report here. Finish out because I didn't get to my point. So based on 31 exahash, they're looking at electricity cost of $20,000 per Bitcoin. So I do think it's important. There's been a lot of buzz over the last 6 or 8 months that, you know, at these numbers, at Bitcoin, at these numbers, the Bitcoin miners are losing money and are not profitable and all those things. And they talk about their all-in cash price. So I interpret that as their electricity costs plus all of their overhead costs. And I think what that does not include is depreciation. So, which is a non-cash cost, obviously. So that's the difference between being profitable for GAAP purposes. You know, so some of these companies, even if they show a loss, they may be most likely, like in Iron's instance, they're very cash flow positive company here. They're from a cash standpoint, they're 30,000 all in, and we're at almost 66,000 in Bitcoin right now. So this is a company that is cash flow positive, and there are many of the top 12 that we're looking at that are cash flow positive even at these numbers. So, you know, if Bitcoin gets to the places that we hope that it's going, then I think you're going to see, you know, not just cash flow positive. I think you're going to start to see profits from these companies. But we talked about this 6 months ago and 3 months ago. After the halving, it was going to be very hard. You know, the first quarterly report after the halving and the second quarterly report, which is yet to come after the halving, I think are going to be the two toughest from a you know, financial statement disclosure standpoint. But then I do think the fourth quarter, I think a lot of these companies are going to be profitable. Now, obviously, that depends on what Bitcoin does, but I think we will have somewhat of a breakout. That doesn't mean, you know, we're going to run to $150,000, but I think we're going to have somewhat of a breakout between now and the end of the year. And I think the fourth quarter for these companies, from a financial statement standpoint, and really from an income statement standpoint, a lot of these companies already have very strong balance sheets, very little or no debt, a lot of liquidity, whether it be in cash or a lot of these companies have a big hodl position. So their cash plus their hodl is their liquidity. So, you know, you've got a lot of these companies with, you know, $500 million or $1 billion of liquidity. Now, they're also doing a lot of stock dilution and they have a lot of capital expenditures. So they're going to spend a lot of that money. I understand, but balance sheets are already looking good. I think the income statements will start to shape up. And, you know, this is kind of a clue right here. When you see these types of numbers, this is a clue as to what to expect, even in the next quarter report that we get. There are 2 or 3 other companies that are very competitive with these numbers. I don't know, you know, they say they have the best numbers. I've seen a couple other companies claim that their numbers, you know, their cost per coin is the best. So there's some companies competing for this, but this was a good press release for Iron. And we'll take a look. And so let's go take a look next at what everybody did this week. So this is updated through the end of business today. Let me see if I can find that. Here we go. So, as always, we have Bitcoin in gold on this chart. Bitcoin was up 5% this week from last Friday to this Friday. So Bitcoin had an up week. More importantly, it kind of broke out of that sideways trend where it looked like it was topping out at that previous high around 64,000. Today, it seems to have broken out of that. So Bitcoin had a nice week. 11 of the 12 Bitcoin miners outperformed Bitcoin. Core Scientific underperformed Bitcoin. It was up 2% this week, but I would tell everybody to just wait 1 minute because the next chart I'm going to look at is year to date, and they are in first place year to date. There's two companies that are by far in first place. So, if they had a week where they underperformed a little bit, maybe this is just a little bit of settling in from the huge run-ups that they've had. And the two companies that have had huge run-ups are Core Scientific, which was up 2% this week, and TeraWulf, which was up 10% this week. So they were up double Bitcoin. Still closer to the bottom end of this list, but you can see some big movers. Cipher, which did have a press release that we'll talk about, that I will tell you, I read that press release. I didn't think it was a big deal. And then on our members only live stream, one of the members pointed out one sentence in there that I kind of glossed over, and we'll go through this and I'll talk specifically about it. But that press release, this stock popped in a big way this week. So Cipher was up 42% this week. That was a huge move. But there were other companies that had big moves. BitDeer, which we just talked about, they put out a press release. They were up 18% this week. Iron was also up 18% this week. Hut, 17%. Bit Digital, 15%. Here's some companies that have been struggling. Cleanspark was up 13%. Bitfarms, 13%. Marathon, 11%. Riot, which is in last place this year by a mile, was up 9% this week. So even Riot had a good week. So this was a strong week. And because Cipher had such a huge week, it doesn't quite put into proportion the fact that most of the other Bitcoin miners really had a really nice week. I mean, Bitcoin up 5%, 15's a triple. So, that's what we hope for. That's our scenario we look for. And we have not been getting it at all this year. So we'll just revisit the last couple weeks real quickly just to get a little bit of a concept of the trend. So remember, last week I told you we were kind of had a mixed bag. We had Bitcoin also up 5%. So back-to-back weeks where Bitcoin was up 5%. But we had a mixed bag with the Bitcoin miners. The week before that, the Bitcoin miners had a big move to the upside. And that was the beginning of what seems to be a little trend here. So 2 of the last 3 weeks, the Bitcoin miners had big moves to the upside. The 2 weeks prior to this were the Bitcoin miners had pretty big moves to the downside. So a lot of this was just getting back the ground they gave up in the first couple of weeks of September. So the first half of September was bad for the Bitcoin miners. The second half seems to be much better. So we seem to be trending in the right direction. And this is the month that everybody was terrified of. So, and I shouldn't say everybody, but, in general, we had a lot of fear around going into September. Clive, thank you very much for the super chat, and thank you for being a member. Clive said, Iron's unlevered free cash flow is currently showing a negative 416 million. Should this be a cause for concern if the company doesn't reverse this trend soon? Well, the thing is, and this is where some of these numbers get tricky, Iron does sell all their Bitcoin. They don't hodl. And I'm not, so without digging into exactly what that number is, they're in a massive expansion growth period. So their capital expenditures are gigantic right now. And however, they're going towards a goal. So as some of these companies dilute and they're spending that money, we knew this was coming. We understood that this was coming. Stock dilution and Iron's been, they did a lot of stock dilution, but you can see they have grown in exahash. They're talking about getting, and I want to go back. I'm going to try to find, give me a second, and I'm going to find where they came into the year because their growth this year, I think, is as a percentage is the most out of anybody. So just give me 1 second and let me find that, and because I think it's important to talk about. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let me bring this chart up. We're going to go back in the Wayback Machine. So this was at December 31st, 2023. You're going to see that iron was at 5.6 exahash. So coming into 2024, so December 31st equal January 1st. Coming into this year, they were at 5.6 exahash. This press release they just put out, they're at 20 exahash. And by the way, they somewhere in here, I believe, say expects to increase to 21 exahash in the coming days. So they've gone from 5.6 exahash to 21 exahash. They've nearly quadrupled their exahash in the first 9 months of this year. So if you're looking at what's going on there, I think that that is the answer to that question. And, you know, they're not looking to get, so another quadruple would be from, 20 to 80. They're not looking to do that. They are looking to get to 31. So there is some more ahead, and they probably spent most of that money to get from 20 to 31. You know, they've bought the machines, they're building the infrastructure. So I think that's going on, what's going on with iron. I really, not financial advice, I'm impressed with iron. I had my doubts about a year ago when they were a $200 million company and they put out a $500 million at the market offering. For those of you, I know a lot of the members remember that that kind of blew me away, and I was I had some concerns about that. And they've put those concerns to rest, in my opinion. Because at that time they were a very small market cap, but they were also a very small exahash, and they weren't a company that had yet a proven track record of doing so. They rolled out a giant plan to get to all these big numbers, and with healthy skepticism, I was a little worried about that. But here we are now, whatever it is, 9 or 10 months down the road, maybe more, and they've executed those plans. They're at 20 exahash. So, with that, they did that at the market offering, and I think they've done another one after that. But with this new one, I was not concerned, because at that time, they were, a $2 or $3 billion market cap company, and their market cap has fluctuated wildly as these stocks have fluctuated up and down wildly this year. But, when you're a $2 billion market cap company and you do a $500 million at the market offering, that is very different than being a $200 million company and doing a $500 million at the market offering. So this is a company I think they're on the right path. There's two key factors with iron that, these are some of the things that I think differentiate company from company. Iron does not hodl their Bitcoin, so that is one of the things that we look at. So if you like companies that hodl their Bitcoin, this is not one of them. If you don't mind companies that sell their Bitcoin and they take that, make the profit, reinvest it into growing bigger. There's a second side of this business, which is the other differentiator. They're one of several Bitcoin miners that is heavily investing in high performance computing / AI. And they had a press release earlier this month. They spent, I think $43 million, doubling the amount of the latest and greatest NVIDIA chips / machines. And so they're ramping up their capacity for AI. It's still, I think they're looking at an annual run rate of like $33 million on the AI side. So that still pales in comparison to what they're looking to do as far as the standpoint of what their Bitcoin mining is. But from a gross profit standpoint, according to what they're talking about, the gross profit that they're looking at on these machines is massive. I think they said they were expecting $1 million of energy cost on $33 million of revenue. Now that does not include the cost of the machines, which, just that last purchase they made, I think was 43 million. I'm doing all of these numbers off the top of my head, so please go double check me on any of these before you make any investment decisions. Obviously, none of this is financial advice, and a lot of these companies have put out a lot of numbers, so it's always best to please verify what I'm saying, double check what I'm saying. But I'm pretty sure that's what happened there with Iron. So this was a big press release in my mind, a continuation of a series of press releases. So they had two big press releases this month, one on the AI side, the other one on the Bitcoin mining side. So I think this is a company that's operating on all cylinders right now, and I like what they're doing. And if we look at, I'm going to go to their stock real quick. So you can see, if you go back to December, a lot of these companies had a peak in December. So Iron took out that peak. They got to up to not quite 16. They got up to $15.75 in July. So their market cap was $3 or $4 billion at this point. And since then they've pulled back considerably. So if we go to today's close, and they were right, Iron was red today. They were down 3% on a day where Bitcoin was up 1.5% on the day. So they're still down 43% from their highs from July. So will they get back to these highs from July? If they do, there's 80% room to the upside for Iron. If Bitcoin has a breakout and Iron continues to perform, in my mind, it makes sense that they get back to where they were back in July. And remember, July was not, they did not hit their high back when Bitcoin was at 74,000. Right? If we go to the Bitcoin chart, if we go to, July, even if we take the absolute peak of July, we got to 69,000 maybe. And let's see what the exact date was that this. So this was on July 8th. So Bitcoin on July 8th. On July, so Bitcoin was at around $56,000 or $57,000 when Iron hit its all-time high. So, and it was, and you got to be careful because sometimes these vicious run-ups are, they're ripe for a pullback. If you see what Iron had just done, even if I go not from the bottom here back in May, but even if I go from this candle where they really started to take off in the middle of May, even if I don't go all the way to peak from the middle of May to middle of June, that's 1 month. They were up almost 200%. So always, everybody's got their own investment plan. But if you're taking profits, if you're, that's whatever you're doing, understand if a stock runs up 200% in 1 month, there's a pretty good chance it's going to have a pullback. Now, this had kind of a double top, right? Because it actually took out this high and got up here. So a lot of these charts look like this. Iron is still way off of their high. So there is room to the upside. And like I've been kind of talking about, I think it's going to take Bitcoin breaking out of this range, getting back to its previous high and points beyond. So, I'll just grab a couple of charts. The other one, Cipher, which had a gigantic week this week. So let's go back and just take a look before I jump to the chart. So Cipher had a gigantic week this week, up 42% on the week. But if I look at Cipher, if I go to the Cipher chart, so you'll see they bounced off of what was a little line of support here. But just in a really short period of time, from the 20th to the 27th, from the bottom to where they are right now, that's a 43% move. And we just looked at the chart. So to the top, it was almost a 50% move. And it kind of hit this resistance, which was its peak from November of 2023. And, that proved to be resistance here and at other points. So we'll see if it can break out to the upside. But my point is, even with a week where this was up 42%, in order to get back to its highs from July, it's got to go up 95%, almost a double from here. So for a lot, it's very hard to buy these stocks on an up week, and I'm not recommending that you do. I usually don't. For those of you who have a true dollar cost average strategy, and you're just doing your thing week after week after week, sometimes it's hard to buy on a week where the stock's up 30 or 40%. But if you look at this, even at this price point, depending on what your thoughts are on Cipher, they have to almost double to get back to where they were in July. And then, if we play out the Bitcoin bull cycle, there's the potential for, points much, much higher than that. So, but this was a massive move to the upside for Cipher. So let's go to their press release, because this is the one that I feel like I kind of missed. And we did have a member point this out on our members stream. And I think they were right. I think, Cipher Mining announces, so this came out on September 24th. Cipher Mining announces the closing of its acquisition of Barber Lake. So this came out on the 24th, and 2 days in a row, if we go back to this chart, you'll see this was the 24th. It had a huge update, and then it gapped up and had another huge update. So this news provided back-to-back gigantic moves to the upside. So let's go back to that news and see what it was. Cipher Mining announces the closing of its acquisition of Barber Lake 300 megawatt data center. So in my mind, I kind of breezed through this, and I don't want to say I dismissed it, but they had already announced a few weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, that they had, made this acquisition. This was basically an announcement that they're closing on it. So to me, this didn't feel like news. But let me find it. I had it highlighted. There's this one sentence in here. If you can't read it, I'll read it for you. We have already received interest in the site from multiple hyperscalers. So I don't know if that was the catalyst, because otherwise this was essentially just, these are usually business as usual type of press releases. They told you they were going to buy something, and then, oh, by the way, hey, pardon the interruption, George is back.
I'm back.
Hello.
I don't know how long my phone ain't charging.
Oh, it's not working?
No, I got to go to a customer's house. The basement's completely flooded.
I figured something like that was going on. That's what I let everybody know. With the hurricane, you probably got a lot going on over there right now. But thank you for joining us.
Always can do more. Remember that.
That's right. There's more where that came from. We can't see your face if you care or don't care.
Oh, well, I'm going to be on and off. Sorry. I got to take this. I'll be right back.
That's okay. Jump on and off whenever. Okay, so with this press release, we got this monster move. So I missed this. And, we did on the live stream on Tuesday, we did have that pointed out. And then Wednesday was another gigantic update for Cipher. So that's not a position I'm in, FYI, that makes any difference. Let's just take a quick peek at what Bitcoin is doing. So it's hanging out. We're at 65,800. We've been just at or around 66,000 for a couple of hours now. We did get higher than that. We got all the way up to around 66,000. Let's see, 66,550 according to this chart was the high on this little run here. So if I go back to this chart, we talked about the fact that we did break out of this previous high from, near the end of August. So about 1 month later, it does seem like we're creating a higher high, by this measure. If we look at this and then this, we've got a higher high going here by that regard. So that is a breakout that people have been looking for. But what I am looking at is, I'm just going to bring the RSI up. I kind of drew a dotted line here. Somewhere around 67 on the daily RSI, you'll see when we hit that here on May 20th, that was the peak. We tested the top of this range. And then when we hit this in July, it was a little bit before, but once again, that was the top of our trading range. And now we're hitting it again. So, you know, the last time we hit this, there was a few days left. We got a little bit higher, although on a daily candle close, that was the top, but we candle wicked above this. But so the last 2 times we did this, that represented a top in Bitcoin. So that is one thing that I'm looking at. But the other thing I'm looking at is if this is a breakout, right? If we did set a higher high and we have a new trend working, Bitcoin very often gets on the daily RSI. Back in October of 2023, we got to 88.5, almost 89. And then again here in February of 2024. So as we got into, remember, this is when, that was a month after the, let's see if, so from February 8th until March 14th, and March 14th was the peak, the 13th or 14th was when we hit our new all-time high at 74,000. Bitcoin had an entire, you know, over a month, between 70 and, you know, 88 on the daily RSI. So my point of that is when we have breakouts, so this is business as usual. You know, somewhere 67, 68, 70 is typically considered overbought on the daily RSI. So, you know, if you're running inside of a pattern and going sideways, then you might be worried that this is the top. And that is one scenario. But the other scenario is when we do have the breakouts, and you'll see, let me get out of that mode. You'll see this was kind of the first parabolic move. You know, this was a 87% move from January 23rd to March 15th. So, and really that was the ETFs, right? They came online on January 11th. So the first couple of months of the ETFs, we had a giant move. And with that, we had this big, you know, overbought situation with Bitcoin. So my point of that is one of the reasons I still do think we might break out of this trading range, right? We're trying to get above this number and then maybe even break out of, you know, our previous all-time high and get above that number is, you know, we do have, if we're looking at the true runs in Bitcoin, we've got, you know, this much room left on the daily RSI to get back to these types of blow-off tops. And that's not, you know, that doesn't mean that's the peak of Bitcoin. That's just to move to the next, from one trading range into the next trading range. So then what you hope happens once you do that is, you know, all these lines that have been resistance for 6 months now, you know, potentially these turn into lines of support. So even if you have pullbacks, and again, we always have massive volatility, if we can have a breakout, you know, maybe we start, you know, to test, you know, that becomes support. And, you know, we start to do these types of things. So that doesn't happen overnight necessarily, but there's the potential that we're moving in that direction. And I'm going to go to a couple articles that talk about this. So this article came out today. Bitcoin FOMO is back. 70K and then new record highs in sight, says analyst. The $10 billion surge in stablecoin minting over the past weeks has flooded the crypto market with liquidity. This from 10x Research, Marcus Thielon, if I pronounced that correctly. So 10x Research does a lot of work in this space. So they're talking about 70,000 and then record highs. And, you know, a lot of this, if you follow the stable coins, as they mint more and more stable coins, that usually means, you know, people don't buy new stable coins just to hold, you know, Tether or Circle or whatever stable coin you're in. They do so to create liquidity for themselves to buy cryptocurrencies. So, you know, as there's a very, very direct correlation, the bigger, you know, the more new stable coins come online tends to indicate coming move in cryptocurrencies. So that's kind of what this article is talking about. This came out today. So, if we look at our poll, I'll close this out. This has been going on forever. By the way, we're at 88 likes. If everybody can do us a favor, we're going for 100 likes. If you could please hit the like button. It does help the live stream out in real time and beyond, and it helps the channel. So I appreciate it very much.
Tom, you can hear me, right?
Yep, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, perfect. Because I had some problem with my phone, but I think I got it to work. I find it funny that we're going to have 2 moons and everybody's talking about Bitcoin pumping.
Yes. So what George is talking about, we looked at this on the members only live stream in the month of October. I'm not sure which 2 moons you're talking about. In the month of October, we will have 2 full moons, which is rare.
No, I'm talking about 2 moons. I'm talking about we're going to have, what is it? It's 5D or something. It's an asteroid that they were calling it a second moon.
Yes, there's a object in space that is going to be, and we looked, I won't pull it up again, but we went and found, you can verify this for yourself. There's an object that's going through space, as a meteor, I guess, that is going to get caught in the Earth's gravity and rotate the Earth for 2 months. So technically that will be in orbit. So, they're calling that a second moon for a brief period of time. So, for those of you who are familiar with the channel, George does follow the moon. And I always like to reiterate that there are other big Bitcoin mining channels, very big Bitcoin mining YouTube channels that talk about the cycle of the moon, particularly the new moon and the full moon. And there does seem to be, some correlation there for whatever reason the case may be. So George was very excited when he saw 2 moons in October. Go ahead, George.
I don't know why it works the way it does, but it does.
Well, that's one of the things.
It's not the same day always. It might be 2 days ahead, 2 days behind, but it usually means there's energy being built up into the Bitcoin ecosystem, and then that means it's going to take off. That's the other reason why I feel that we're on the verge of something major right now.
With indicators like that, it's not always, people think, oh, you think the moon's affecting Bitcoin. It's more about the correlation than causation.
Causation. Yeah.
And there just does seem to be a correlation. Okay, so all right, so let's get, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but I would be remiss if we did not talk about the Bitfarms Riot situation. So again, I'll try and go through this quickly. For the members, we did spend a bunch of time on this on Tuesday, but I won't say it's old news. It was this week. On Monday, Bitfarms and Riot put out a joint statement. So you can go to either one of their websites and see the same press release. Bitfarms and Riot announce settlement. So they've come to some agreement on some things. Bitfarms appoints Amy Friedman to the board of directors, board to nominate an independent director for election at a special meeting, and a standstill agreement through 2026 annual meeting. Let's see. Riot has agreed to withdraw its June 24th, 2024 requisition as amended and to accept customary standstill provisions through the Bitfarms 2026 annual meeting with certain exceptions. The company has provided Riot with certain rights to purchase shares of the company, provided Riot holds 15% or more of the outstanding common shares of the company they currently own. And I'll just take a quick look at this. This came out the same day. This is, you'll see Riot Platforms. They own 19.9% of Bitfarms. So they are Bitfarms' largest shareholder. They own, and this was put out by Bitfarms, disclosing that Riot Platforms is their biggest holder and their position's 19.9%. So it seems to me that what they're saying there is that they're going to give Riot the right to, to as they dilute, be it through their at the market offering. They also have a dilution event coming up when and if this merger with Stronghold comes through. I think that Riot is going to have the right to continue to, buy their keep their position at 19.9%. So there is a poison pill that kicks in at 20%. We'll see if that holds up or not. But for the time being, Riot seems content with effectively, a 20% ownership in Bitfarms. So they've agreed upon certain things. These are certain concessions by Bitfarms. I don't know if you think these make Bitfarms a better company or not. My big point that I won't go too deep into is I don't really see an end game here. I don't understand what this is all about. I don't believe that Riot is going to buy Bitfarms. That's my personal opinion. So, I have no knowledge about that. I have no ability to predict the future other than as I look at this, I just don't understand how Riot gets from here to the finish line in acquiring Bitfarms. If Bitfarms stays on plan, they're already at 11 exahash as of their last press release. They're $1 billion company. Well, Riot's only about a $2 billion company. So it's just hard for me to understand how one's going to acquire the other. If Bitfarms stays on their growth plan, they're looking to get to 21 exahash by the end of the year. Yes, Riot's looking to get to 32 exahash, but based on historical efficiencies in number of coins per exahash, they could be mining a very similar amount of exahash. So I just don't know how Riot's going to acquire Bitfarms. Maybe they know something that I don't know. Maybe you guys know something that I don't know. This does not seem very plausible to me. So I scratch my head about this one. But again, what do I know? I'm going to just put a quick poll up and see. We did a poll on the members only, but I want to see what you guys think. So we'll end this poll. Is this the Bitcoin breakout to new all-time highs? 68% say yes, 32% say no. So basically 2/3, 1/3 think we're breaking out from here. So this is getting a little more decisive. For a couple of months, our polls were a lot closer to maybe 55-45, that type of stuff. So we're now closer to 2/3, 1/3 for whatever that's worth. We'll close that poll out. And then just a quick poll. So I'm just going to leave it this simply. Is Riot going to acquire Bitfarms? Are they going to buy Bitfarms? Are they going to own Bitfarms? Is there a path here that you guys see that I don't see? I will tell you, I like Riot. I own, not, as always, not financial advice. Please don't do what I'm doing, but I own shares of Riot, and they've been, for me, I'll go to the chart. They're the worst performing Bitcoin mining stock. I'm not saying the company, the stock is the worst performing out of the 12 we follow. It's not even close. But I'm a big fan of Bitfarms, and I own their stock too. So, it's not that I have anything against either of these companies. I hope they both thrive. But I will say the market's very concerned about Riot, as shown in their stock price. So my perspective is I think they should be hyper-focused on doing what the market wants them to do, which is, reaching the goals that they talked about, increasing their efficiency and being more clear about what they're doing. And they do have big goals. And to be fair, I think that, their last 3 press releases have been some big improvements. A lot of this development they've been doing of their new gigantic facility in Texas, a lot of that has come online. They've gotten themselves, they were stuck at about 12.4 exahash for a long time, and it seemed like nothing was happening. And they kept telling us, we are building out our infrastructure. We're going to get there. Well, they did jump to 23 exahash, so that was a big jump. They don't mine quite as many Bitcoin per exahash. One of the reasons for that is they do get energy credits. That makes up some of the difference, but still they're one of the, just strictly from a Bitcoin mined per exahash standpoint, they're at the lower end of the spectrum. So, I could give you a whole list of pros and cons about Riot, but my point of all that is, unless they know something I don't know, obviously, if they find a great way to acquire Bitfarms, I think Bitfarms is a great company. So it would be a massive, massive win for Riot. I just don't know. I don't understand how that would happen. So you can drop in the comments your thoughts. If you think that that is possible, then, let me know how you think they're going to accomplish that. Because it's going to get harder and harder as time goes by. If Bitcoin starts to run and these stocks start to run, all of a sudden, maybe Bitfarms a $2 billion market cap company. I mean, how does Riot buy, a $2 billion market cap company? Let's look at Bitfarms right now. They're kind of somewhere around 1 billion. By the way, Dow hits a fresh record high. So a lot of, the Dow is hit a record high. The S&P 500 is basically at its all-time high. I think yesterday it hit it. It may have pulled back a little bit today. The S&P ended up down 0.13% today. The Nasdaq ended up down 0.39%. The Russell had a nice day. So the small caps had a nice day. They moved counter to this has been a trend for a while now. They're moving counter to the others. So gold pulled back off of its all-time high, but still very close to its all-time high at $2,674. I mean, there was a time, 2000 was some mythical magical number, and they put that way in the rearview mirror. So gold is on fire. Not sure if George is here or not, or in the middle of doing something, but I know he holds a position in gold, and that has been working out very well for him. Again, not financial advice. That's just something he's doing. So what I distracted myself from looking at.
Not working out too well today.
Talking to us, George?
Yeah. What about oil?
Oh, oil up. Oil was up 1.43% to $68.64. So
I have a feeling it's going to skyrocket soon.
George is on record. He's been warning everybody that he thinks we're going to get, oil's going to head in the wrong direction here.
Once some pew-pews start flying, pew-pews, if you know what I mean by that. I don't want to get the stream to get taken down.
Yes.
Pew-pews.
Precisely. By the way, we did hit 100 likes. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. If you didn't hit the like button, if you could do that, we would appreciate it greatly. It does help out the channel, and it is much appreciated.
Tom, did you look at the fear and greed?
Let's take a look at the fear and greed index right now, George. Let me press refresh and make sure. Oh, it jumped today. So yesterday we were at 50, neutral. A month ago, we were at fear. Right before that, we were in extreme fear. Today, we hit 61, which is the very beginning of greed. So there's a long way to go to go through the greed, extreme greed. And that's where Bitcoin tends to be when it makes its big runs. It can get, I'll go back historically. Let's go down to the chart and go to the 1 year. I mean, you can see even back in July, we were in the mid 70s. We've been as high as 90. So we had a sustained period at 65. So 65, 75, 85, Bitcoin can get and stay at that for a period of time. And that's when we have these giant moves. We've been consolidating for 6 months, and it's probably not going to take 6 months to jump to the next spot. That's not how Bitcoin usually works. It's not how cryptocurrencies usually work. It's actually not how the overall market usually works. There's some interesting statistics, and I will butcher them right now, but there's something to the effect, if you take out the top 10 days, like over a 20-year period, you would miss, even just in the, S&P 500, you'd miss the majority of the move to the upside. So, I just botched whatever the actual statistic is there, but it's something to that effect. So,
Tom, I would also say as we enter into this bull run is to not be too greedy. And when you're comfortable with your profits, take them. Because I don't think this is the run I think we're going to get an all-time high right now coming up, but I don't think this is the parabolic move yet.
So George is expecting a run up to a new all-time high, and then some volatility, and maybe retesting some lower numbers. So,
Yeah.
it's always important. You bring up an excellent point. You should have a strategy. If you don't know what your exit strategy is, you don't have to take profits. You can take profits.
Right.
For those of you that do take profits, obviously a win is a win. So, but the
Or you
key
can take insurance too.
that's a great point. You can buy some puts. You can buy some puts or sell some covered calls if you think you're, and again, I'm not advising, especially selling puts and calls, very, very not basic stuff. It's intermediate stuff, and it's considerably higher risk stuff. But just buying some put options is that's not advanced stuff. That would be a different way to protect
I think
yourself.
I'm going to do that. We can finally do. When are those trading yet, BitO?
The IBIT options, the BlackRock options are not trading yet.
That's what I want.
The BlackRock options eventually, we're waiting. I think I have an article somewhere here.
You think it's within 30 days?
That would be my guess. I do have an article regarding that. BlackRock highlights Bitcoin's unique properties as approved IBIT options could cement risk-off status. So I don't know about all that. I'm not sure that is true.
Oh.
But
Yeah, I am. You can almost see the play coming without it even happening yet.
So
I hope that makes sense.
Well, they give some bullet points here. Bitcoin's up 22% since the yen carry trade unwind on August 5th. And remember, that was going to be the end of the world. That was going to be the nightmare. Over 65% of the circulating Bitcoin supply has remained unmoved for over a year. Almost all holders are in profit if they held for 3 years, while there are all in profit if they held for at least 5 years. Well, of course, you would certainly hope so. We're very near an all-time high, so you would hope that the majority of people that have held for any amount of time are in profits right now.
Yeah, that's an old article, because I bet you it's higher than that.
Those might be old numbers. This article came out today, but those might be old numbers.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second.
But the key is by having an ETF, that created access to Bitcoin in a way that was unprecedented. And BlackRock, I'll go to all the ETF numbers. BlackRock is by far the biggest of these ETFs. Not only do we now have an ETF, but we're going to be able to buy options on that ETF. So I do think this is gigantic news. And I probably will buy some of these options. I just got this. I have this feeling, and right away when they announced this, and this is totally anecdotal, so take it for what it's worth and with a grain of salt. But I just felt like because I wanted these options so much, I felt strongly that the run in Bitcoin was going to happen before these were available. That tends to be the way a lot of this stuff works. So we'll see. That hasn't happened yet. We have had a nice move to the upside, but I don't think anybody can say that run is over or that we haven't even got back to all-time highs yet. Bitcoin's realized volatility trends downward. So to George's point, there's still a couple of hurdles they need to get to before they can be traded, but the big one was SEC approval. The rest of them are kind of academic, it would seem. So sometime sooner than later, we're going to get options on IBIT, which is BlackRock's ETF. And I think that's a big deal. So interesting, is Riot going to acquire Bitfarms? 37% of you think, yes, Riot is going to acquire Bitfarms. So 37% of you disagree with me. That was higher than on the members only chat. 64% think no, they will not acquire them. So there's a lot more people than I thought that think there is a path here for Riot to acquire Bitfarms. So I don't see it, but obviously a lot of you do see it, and you know, I can't say. Who knows? Admin to you is saying to you, George, to your point, George, I'm holding until the summer of 2025. I love Bitcoin and dislike fiat, period.
I agree with that statement.
Thank you, Edmund.
That's like the worst car ever made. The Fiat,
That
the car.
fiat.
Oh,
yeah.
What is he talking about?
Fiat currencies, the dollar, etc. You know what he's talking
I
about.
thought he was talking about the car. I thought he was talking about the Fiat. I was like, I wouldn't buy that car either. Tom, I have a question, and this is kind of political, but not really. Does anybody audit the government?
Well, there's, I mean, they
Besides
audit
the GSA.
Right. They audit themselves independently.
Oh yeah.
And they do, and I'm on record. They do a great job.
Okay, I think they do a fantastic job myself. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like that's the thing about fiat currencies. All of them, right? Who's watching the watchers?
Sometimes I feel like I'm in a twilight zone.
Yeah. So we'll close this poll. A surprising result to me. About a third of you do think Riot's going to end up with Bitfarms. I will tell you, if Riot ends up with Bitfarms, man, boy, in my opinion, boy, will they be a powerhouse. That's a force to be reckoned with. So if the third of you are right, then man, that's my opinion. Edmondson, Tom, I hold tons of the IBIT ETF. You buy the options, I might be selling some to you. Max would move about 25% on a weekly basis if they are worthwhile.
I was actually kind of thinking the same thing, Edmund. They might be good to sell, Tom.
That could very well be true. I can't argue with that. So
they're probably going to be huge premium on them.
I would guess there's going to be a big premium on them. Bitcoin and Bitcoin related, you know, the Bitcoin miners, for a couple of years, Marathon and Riot had the two highest premiums of any options in the market. So, and they're still very high, you know, because of the, obviously, you know, this is all super high volatility stuff. So you're going to pay. It is tough to win buying options. So we'll close.
But when you do win, man, the money is so good.
Well, if you have some options on during one of these parabolic moves, let me go back to a chart. Let's say, for instance, you had Cipher options. Cipher was up 42% this week. They probably had options that were up 3, 4, 5, 6, 700% this week. So I'm saying probably because I didn't look, but typically, you know, that's if you go out of, and it's a big risk. If you go out of the money, you could have an option go parabolic when a stock moves even 20% in a week. So, you know, but a lot of you may say, well, that's ultra high risk. That's more like gambling. So I understand. Chuck, this is an oldie but a goodie. What is the opposite of progress? Congress.
I gotta watch. I was gonna say Buffalo Bills, but I guess I can't say that.
Well, not yet. Wait for it.
They're going. This is it. This is their year.
It's our year. For those of you who have been watching us for years, you'll know that every Bills fan says that every single year. I know we're not the only fans that have that syndrome.
Was it Crypto Rich? He has this, and
Yeah. Okay, so let me go to a follow-up article on one that we looked at earlier. So we looked at this earlier. Bitfinex, Bitcoin needs to top 65.2K. Let me see if I got the follow-up on that. Here we go. Bitcoin's, quote, outside day sets the stage for 70K. Altcoin breakout technical analysis. So if we go down here, you'll see they reference earlier this week, analysts at Bitfinex crypto exchange said August's $65,200 high is the level to beat for Bitcoin bulls. So that was the article that we looked at. If we go to Bitcoin right now, we're at 65, just under 65.8. So this daily candle hasn't closed yet, but we did take out that 65.2 by quite a bit. We've set a new high for the month, and the month's not over. We got, the weekend and Monday before we get to the end of the month. So they are saying, let me get back to that. So this is another article that's saying that sets the stage for $70,000. And they also go on to say altcoin breakout. So
what?
Yeah.
Were they listening?
George called that one on. Was that on the members stream?
Yeah, I think I might have said it last. No, it was definitely the members stream. Dude, what is going on? How can I be so right lately?
You're on fire. So if we go to the cryptocurrency universe,
Remember,
let me
you were
refresh.
saying to me
What?
when you said to me, usually the Bitcoin runs and then the altcoin runs. I said this seems different this time.
Yeah, typically Bitcoin does its thing and then altcoin season occurs. So we'll see. I want to go through some of these altcoins, and then I want to talk about Ethereum for a minute. So Ethereum is up 5.85%. That's a little bit. That's on the week. That's 7 days. That's outperforming Bitcoin a little bit this week. But there were some giant movers this week. So some of the big ones were, just under 7% for BNB, Solana up just under 7%. But Dogecoin, so some of the meme coins went wild. Doge up 17%. Shiba Inu's up 38.7%. If I go down, where's Pepe is up 29%. But you'll see some big moves. I mean, I'll be honest, this is number 21, and I don't even know what this is. Internet computer. I've never looked at that. I don't know what it is. It's
Is that ICP?
ICP. Oh, ICP I recognize. I didn't know that was internet computer. So ICP.
Yeah, that's ICP.
I've just never seen it written out that way. I've always, seen and heard talk about ICP, and I've never done my own deep dive or due diligence on it. So as you guys know, I'm now just getting into these altcoins because I do think the time is coming. And I don't think even with these pops, we haven't missed this by a long shot yet. The two most popular altcoins so far this year, Sui, this is up 10.6% this week. So a nice week. And where'd it go? And Solana is up 7%. So those are the two big winners on the year this year. But there were some meme coin types that really had a really nice week this week. And the altcoins overall had a good week. I will tell you, the one that I'm taking the closest look at, that I'm working on a video for, is Caspa. And it did not participate in this. But again, this often happens.
Today.
So it's at 17 cents. It's been stuck around 16 cents. But if I do the 1 year, You know, look at how dramatically this is up. This was up from 4.7 cents to 17 cents in the last year. So most of the altcoins are way down. Kaspa's had a big run to the upside. I think there's a lot of room left for this, but it did not participate in the rally this week. So that can happen. But you'll see. I mean, you'll see big.
I was thinking about coming up with an altcoin, but I can't say the name of it on the stream.
Okay, members only stream maybe, or not even that.
Yeah. It's a great one too.
Make a mental note.
It's a coin, and you can say, "You can't touch this."
We'll use our imaginations for now. So I said I wanted to talk about ETH for a minute. There was some ETH. Then I want to get to the ETFs. Just looking for this article. Find it in a second, and I will move on. Yeah, I don't know why I can't find it, but there was an article. Bitcoin or Ethereum had its biggest outflow day. It had 79 million. Well, let's go to the chart. Ethereum on Monday had $79 million. Excuse me.
God bless you.
Yes, pardon me. Pardon me for that. Okay. So Ethereum on Monday had $79 million outflow. You'll see a lot of red. So Tuesday and Wednesday were inflows. I don't see today's numbers and yesterday's numbers. But unlike the Bitcoin ETFs, which we'll look at in a minute, since the Ethereum ETFs have started, they've been an outflow of almost $600 million. Now, that is due in large part to the Grayscale Trust, which has had $2.8 billion of outflow. But unlike Bitcoin, BlackRock has not offset that. BlackRock has had $1 billion of inflow versus Ethereum's $2.8 billion. So net, these have been an outflow, and that is very, very different story. Ethereum has lagged the performance of Bitcoin year to date dramatically. So, the question is, and I'm going to close out this poll, and I'm going to ask this question, then finish this conversation. So is Riot going to acquire Bitfarms? It looks like we're at 1/3, 2/3 on that scenario. One second to finish typing. All right, I'm going to put this poll up there, and then I'm going to finish the conversation about Ethereum. Which will perform better over the next 12 months, Bitcoin or Ethereum? So if you're starting from scratch today, you think Bitcoin's going to do better over the next 12 months, or you think Ethereum's going to do better over the next 12 months? And Ethereum is lagging behind Bitcoin significantly so far year to date. So if we go look at these charts, if we go to Ethereum, you'll see in March of 2024, they were up at 4,000. They're back to 2,700, and they got as low as almost 2,100 at the beginning of September. And then, 2,200 in the middle of September. But even 2,600, they are... So two things. They're still 52% off of their highs from March. Bitcoin's... So we'll look at Bitcoin. Compare and contrast. Bitcoin right now is only 12% off of its highs from March. But it's even worse than that for Ethereum. While they're 52% off of their highs from March, if I zoom out, they never got back to their all-time high from the previous cycle. So Bitcoin's 12% off of its all-time high right now, which was in March. Ethereum is 80% off of its all-time high. So that could be a good news, bad news. Does that mean that it's just going to be later in the cycle than Bitcoin and you haven't missed the run on Ethereum and there's still massive upside ahead? Or is a different story going on with Ethereum? Is this losing steam? Are there too many other... One of my biggest concerns with Ethereum when it moved from proof of work to proof of stake was now all of a sudden it was competing with the entire universe. And I know it had, mass adoption, even still its market cap, other than, there's Bitcoin and everything else. But if I won't talk about it. We'll go just take a quick look. Bitcoin's market cap's $1.3 billion. Ethereum's is $1.3 trillion. Ethereum's $324 billion. So that's just about a quarter of Bitcoin. But then you'll see, other than a stablecoin, Tether, which has exploded in size, the next closest cryptocurrency is $88 billion. So, this is, 4 times bigger, 3.5 times bigger than the next closest. So while Bitcoin's in a league of its own, Ethereum's kind of in a league of its own as well. But my thought was when it did move to proof of stake, and it's starting to play out this way. You've got Solana. The adoption in Solana is massive now. There's more new projects and new things going on Solana than there are on Ethereum now. And Solana's performance, if we go, let's see if I can find that. The run that Solana went on, and it's still not quite back to its all-time high. So let's just do that first and compare apples to apples. But so that's actually, doesn't look like much, but it's 65%. But it doesn't look like much because, from its lows of the crypto winter, this is up 1,800%. So, to my point, in the year 2024, who's been the big winners? If I go to, and they even had a big run coming in. If you go to the middle of if you go to the last year, this is up 800%. So, whereas, a lot of the other cryptocurrencies have not had this run. So you'll see this looks similar to what Bitcoin's doing. A lot of consolidation. We'll see if it can break out, but I think there's a lot more excitement around Solana than there is around Ethereum right now. I know it's still a fraction of the market cap if we go back and look, but it is making a lot of ground. This is $74 billion. It's significantly higher than it was. So still, even with all that said right now, and if you're there and you can vote, cast your vote. 75% of people still think Bitcoin will do better over the next 12 months than Ethereum, even with Ethereum having that much more ground to make up just to catch its previous all-time high. Are there some of us who think that Ethereum's not even going to get back to its high from the previous cycle? Bitcoin's already, it's not there today, but it's already taken out its previous all-time high. Ethereum has not. And it's having a rough go of it. What do you think, George? Oh, we're not hearing you. I don't know if you're hearing me. I see you talking. Oh, he may be on a call. That's why I may see him talking, but he might be on a call with a customer. Oh, you're not on a call? We just can't hear you? I'm sorry, George. Somehow you're... Sorry, everybody. Pardon the interruption. Somehow George's volume...
How about now?
Oh, yeah. You're back.
There we go. I guess I was muted. I think I'll still get to 10,000.
You think Ethereum to 10,000?
Yeah. I think there's some big money behind it. And I think that they don't want it to lose. So I think it's going to move nicely.
So,
but I mean, think about it. That's only a 4x.
That's a 4x.
With a lot of risk. With a lot of risk, though.
That's higher than my price target for Bitcoin in this cycle. A 4x.
Oh, is it?
Right, because...
Yeah, you're only expecting a 2x, right?
I'm expecting like a 2.5x from here. That's my, and obviously I won't be surprised if there's a 3x or more, but that's my expectation.
It'll probably be, what's funny? It'll probably be right about a 3x. It probably won't be a 4x. It'll probably be a 3x.
And I'm guessing most people here would be happy with from where we are. A triple from here would be, we will have had a nice bull run. I know there's people with higher targets than that. There's some people with much higher targets than that.
I'm going into the restaurant, so I figured I'd show everybody.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up as well. So thank you, George, for joining us.
Huh?
I'm going to wrap up. So thanks for joining us. Any parting thoughts?
You got to be in it to win it. Don't get scared now, but be very cautious. That's all I'm telling everybody.
As always,
very cautious.
Yes. Invest, have a plan, invest wisely.
And go Bitcoin.
Go Bitcoin. All right. Thank you, George. We'll end this poll. See you, George. Have a good weekend. The vast majority think Bitcoin's going to outperform Ethereum. That's where we're at. So that was pretty much all the stuff that I had this week. Let's just take a peek at what Bitcoin is doing. And we're holding strong at 65,800. So that 65,200 level that, it looked like we needed to break out of. We did. If I go back to this chart, we've clearly set a higher high inside of this trading range that we're in. We have not yet broken out of this trading range on my chart. If you search long enough, I think you will find some people out there who have this line a lot lower. And we're getting near a breakout. According to some people, I think I'm a little conservative. I like these touch points better here and here. These are closer to daily candle closes and then a candle wick. So, technical analysis is a art, not a science. And, take it for whatever it's worth. But overall, a good week for Bitcoin. Overall, we'll just close out. This is the week the Bitcoin miners had. So a really good week for the vast majority of the Bitcoin miners. So hopefully all of you guys, it was a good week for your portfolio. It was a good week in life. Everybody have an absolutely fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for joining us every Friday. For the members, we'll see you on Tuesday. And everybody have a great weekend.